The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good to have you with us here at 5 a.m. I'm Chris Burton, filling in for Maddie Jansen.
And I'm Alex Fisher. We begin this morning with breaking news from overnight. We've learned alcohol was the factor in a major crash that killed one person and hurt 8 others in South Bakersfield. The crash happened around 8:30 last night on Brundage Lane between I Street and Chester Avenue. Police say the crash involved a car and 2 trucks. A man was killed, 8 others were hurt, including 4 children. Investigators say alcohol and speed were factors in this crash.
In education news, the Kern High School District Board held a special meeting last night to approve an expenditure plan. But once again, the vaccine mandate was the hot topic.
If all you're going to do is what the state tells you to, then why are you here? What good are you? You represent us, not the state of California. You represent the interaction between us. Do that, gentlemen, please.
Under no circumstances will my own children have this vaccine. I will not comply with this vaccine. You will lose me. I will walk away from my job. And if that means I have to move out of California, I will.
And so,
several parents and educators once again voicing their opposition to Governor Newsom's mandate that children get the COVID vaccine in order to attend school. Last night's comments came as the board approved the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Expenditure Plan, or ESSR, which was set to expire this week.
17 News is your local election headquarters, and this morning, Kern County Supervisor Leticia Perez says she will not run for re-election when her term is up in 2024. That is fueling speculation she will make a run for the state assembly.
Supervisor, I'd let them know too that I would not be running for the Board of Supervisors again, so the maps will not impact me.
Perez made her intentions known in a brief statement during Tuesday night's meeting where the topic of redistricting was being discussed. Perez has held the 5th District supervisorial seat since 2012. In a statement to KGET yesterday, Perez did not say what her plans are, but in August she said she would make a decision on running for the state assembly if Rudy Salas announced his intent to run for Congress. Well, Salas made his run for the 21st Congressional District official last week. Perez tells 17 News in part, "No matter what, I will remain committed to serving the people of the 5th District and will always fight for Kern County families."
Meantime, high gas prices were the topic during House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's roundtable discussion yesterday, which he says will skyrocket under the Democratic reconciliation plan.
We have lowered our CO2 emissions more than any of the countries combined, and we did that while we were increasing our production to become energy independent. We can have both. And when you do that, the price of gasoline is lower. And in this new bill that they want to go forward, it has arbitrary drilling moratoriums on federal lands, it increases fees and royalties, and you already just now have gas at one of its highest levels that will only go higher if this passes.
Gasoline prices are at their highest point in 7 years. The average price in every state is now above $3 per gallon. In California, some towns have reached $7 a gallon.
Now to our 17 homicide tracker, and a shooting in Delano on Tuesday night claimed the life of a young man. As 17's Christian Galeno reports, this is the second incident in the same area this month.
Just 72 hours since being sworn in, Delano PD Chief Tyson Davis' department now investigate who's responsible for the shooting of 19-year-old Elijah Gonzalez.
we wish we could prevent all crime, but sometimes crime happens and we just have to try to investigate it and suppress it.
Wednesday at midnight, Delano PD got a call from Adventist Health about
2 individuals who had been shot, suffering from gunshot injuries.
By the time police arrived to the hospital, it was too late. One of the victims fled after suffering a lower extremities injury.
The second victim, they found that he was deceased from his injuries. 2 individuals had been at a social gathering at that residence. They were outside talking, and a vehicle drove by and began shooting at them.
I don't know what the world is, curse or what.
The shooting happened just a block from where Delano police shot and killed a woman at a home in late September.
I just received that investigation this week. We're now doing an administrative investigation, and at the culmination of that, we will come up with a final determination, and then as soon as possible, we'll release information to the public.
For 17 News, I'm Christian Galeno.
And by our count, this is the 117th homicide in Kern County so far this year, the 9th in October. Anyone with information on the shootings is asked to call the Delano Police tip line at 721-3369.
In your 17 Crime Watch, a woman is under arrest, accused of stealing a vehicle with a child in the back seat, then trying to hand the toddler off to a passerby. It began just after noon yesterday near Niles Street and Sterling Road. The sheriff's office says a woman's vehicle was stolen with her 2-year-old child still inside. About a half hour later, deputies got a report of a woman trying to give the child to another person in the area of DeGiorgio and South Fairfax Roads. That's when deputies caught up with the woman, 31-year-old Melissa Ashley Peterson. She was arrested and booked on suspicion of kidnapping and other charges. Peterson is due court tomorrow. And now tense moments caught on camera right outside our studios. Bakersfield police say they stopped a suspected car thief in the alley adjacent to our studios at around 3:45 yesterday afternoon. We're still waiting for more information from police as of news time this morning.
An update now on a shooting from more than 6 months ago, with deputies announcing an arrest in the killing. The sheriff's office says detectives arrested 33-year-old Joan Luvano Tuesday on suspicion of shooting and killing 39-year-old Jose Araujo on April 18th in South Bakersfield. Officials say Araujo, a resident of Tulare, was shot in the chest on White Lane near South Union Avenue and may have been at a party in the area. Luvano is due in court later today.
And then recapping our top stories this morning. Overnight, we learned alcohol played a role in a crash that left 1 person dead and 8 others hurt. It happened around 8:30 last night on Brundage Lane between I Street and Chester Avenue. According to police, the accident involved a sedan and 2 trucks. Among those hurt in the crash, 4 children. And the Kern High School District Board held a special meeting last night to approve an expenditure plan. But once again, the vaccine mandate was the hot topic. Last night's comments came as the board approved the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Expenditure Plan, or ESSR, which was set to expire this week. And Kern County Supervisor Leticia Perez announced she will not run for re-election when her term is up in 2024. That's fueling speculation she will make a run for the state assembly. Perez tells 17, in part, "No matter what, I remain committed to serving the people of the 5th District and will always fight for Kern County families."
5:32 is our time now, and President Biden is going to Europe today. The president first meets with the leaders of the world's 20 wealthiest countries in Italy, then heads to Scotland for a key climate change summit. But before he leaves, the president has a lot of unfinished business to take care of on Capitol Hill. NBC's Chris Pallone is in Washington this morning with the latest.
Alex, good morning. President Biden is delaying his departure in a last-ditch effort to reach a deal on 2 major spending bills. In Europe, preparations underway as Rome and Glasgow are set to welcome the world's top leaders. But first, for President Biden, a pit stop on Capitol Hill, meeting with congressional Democrats to try to get his top priority, 2 major spending bills across the finish line.
Of course, he would love to head on his trip with a deal.
Democrats have been expressing confidence that a deal is close on a spending bill with money for new social initiatives and programs to fight climate change.
An agreement is within arm's length.
But even last night, it was unclear whether Democrats would hold together as word trickled out about what programs would make the final cut and how they would be paid for.
Could you please confirm spelling of your first and last name for me, Ms. President?
The latest indicating a provision funding paid family leave had been dropped.
It would be devastating. It'd be devastating for working women.
The president had hoped to show world leaders the U.S. is serious about strengthening the middle class and fighting climate change. The White House now dialing back expectations.
They're sophisticated. They're seeing we're on the verge of getting to a deal, and that's not, they don't look at it through the prism of whether there is a vote in one body of the legislative body before he gets on an airplane.
With just hours until departure, a deal still up in the air. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had hoped to vote today on a bipartisan bill which would provide $1 trillion to improve the nation's roads and bridges. But it's unclear if progressives would support it absent a deal on President Biden's larger spending bill. In Washington, Chris Pallone, 17 News.
Well, coronavirus continues to spread in Kern County at an alarming rate, and there's no sign the virus is going away. Data released by Public Health yesterday shows another 477 people have been infected with the virus. We also learned of another 5 lives lost to COVID-19. Now, we know of at least 1,657 people who have died since the beginning of the pandemic. At least 220 people have died during this surge alone. 228 people are in the hospital with more severe symptoms of the virus, and 71 people are in the ICU.
Local hospitals are at the epicenter of this pandemic, and they continue to say they are struggling with the amount of patients continuing to come in with severe symptoms of COVID-19.
We have more COVID patients in the ICU and more on ventilators. So we have 16 positive COVID patients in ICU, and 15 of those are intubated. So I think that's our highest number of this surge, which is concerning.
Mercy Hospital's president and CEO, Bruce Peters, says ICUs at his hospitals are at capacity, forcing them to move some ICU patients to the emergency room for treatment. As for Memorial Hospital, Dignity Health president and CEO Kim Keller says they currently have 10 ICU patients, one of whom is a child. Of those 10, 6 are currently on ventilators, but all of them are receiving oxygen support in some way. The good news? Keller says Memorial is seeing a drop in incoming COVID-19 patients, but they're also seeing a surge in what he calls normal patients who are not suffering from COVID-19.
To highlight the state's ongoing efforts to increase vaccination rates and promote booster shots for eligible populations, Governor Gavin Newsom yesterday visited a local health clinic in Alameda County where he received a Moderna vaccine booster. Governor Newsom is encouraging eligible Californians to get their booster and keep immunity strong, especially as we enter the winter months.
But I want folks to understand why this is more important than it may appear. We're not just here to promote boosters in an abstract. We're here to promote caution and the imperative of considering getting boosters, particularly if you're in these categories with underlying conditions or you're a vulnerable population, 65 and over and the like, because of what we anticipate happening this winter, because what we experienced last winter.
Boosters have been approved for the Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccines. Nearly 2 million Californians have already received their booster dose.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.